Developing right now on Morning News Now, a somber homecoming for 4 of the Israeli hostages whose bodies were returned by Hamas. Now Israel says the identity of one of those bodies doesn't match. This as Prime Minister Netanyahu speaks out about the extent of his commitment to President Trump's peace plan and what he sees for the future of war-torn Gaza.
The conditions in his 20-point plan are very clear. It's not only that we get the hostages out. I hope we can do this peacefully, and we're certainly ready to do so.
And in Gaza, anxious anticipation as Palestinians wait for much-needed aid. We're going to bring you the latest as phase 1 of the peace process unfolds. Another day, another impasse on Capitol Hill, where day 15 of a government shutdown is now underway. Today, Senate lawmakers set to vote for the 9th time on a funding bill to reopen the government after yet another failed vote yesterday. Well, in Chicago, protesters and federal agents clashing over immigration raids across the city. We'll have an update. Plus, fallout in Florida over a violent confrontation caught on camera involving a police officer and a mother outside a school. More on the case that's raising questions about a controversial new state law. And trading shots for the shot, the new research that shows those popular weight loss drugs could be helping users drink less alcohol. When you drink less alcohol, it makes it easier to lose weight.
There you go.
Right.
Ain't that the truth?
Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers.
Let's begin this morning in Israel. Anger is growing over the slow return of the remains of hostages held by Hamas. Overnight, Hamas did return 4 bodies after Israel threatened to limit badly needed aid to Gaza. The Israeli military has identified 3 of them, but is now saying 1 body does not match any of the hostages. Hamas was required to return all 48 hostages still held in Gaza as part of the first phase of President Trump's peace plan. So far, all 20 living hostages and the bodies of 7 have been returned to Israel. All parties involved in the ceasefire agreement had previously agreed that it was unlikely Hamas would locate all of the remains by Monday.
In Gaza, aid is beginning to be distributed in the enclave as thousands of Palestinians return to their war-devastated homes. The UN confirmed that Israel will only allow half of the agreed-upon number of aid trucks to enter Gaza starting today in response to what Joe was just saying, Hamas's delay in handing over hostage bodies. Meanwhile, in the streets of Gaza, Hamas is clashing with rival gangs after retaking control of the enclave. In a few moments, we will speak with UNICEF spokesperson Tess Ingram on the reality of distributing aid in a war-devastated Gaza. First, though, let's get to NBC News International correspondent Matt Bradley, who is in Tel Aviv with the very latest on the ground. Matt, good morning. Thanks for being with us. As we've reported on this for weeks, for months, what we've learned so far about the identities of the hostage remains. Tell us, what have Israeli authorities said? How many more are still in Hamas custody?
Well, there are now 8 hostage remains who are now in Israeli custody. That leaves about, or thought to be, 20 more who have not been turned over. Now, this is becoming a real problem and a real threat to this already tentative ceasefire. But, as you mentioned, this was already well known that this was going to be an issue. Hamas had alerted international negotiators and international aid agencies that they were going to need help finding these bodies for several reasons. One of them is that, according to people that I've been speaking to on the Palestinian side, they said that some of the fighters who have buried these bodies have since been killed in the war. So nobody knows where to find them. That's why they have asked for, but it's unclear whether they've received help from an international group of experts who would help them exhume the bodies. Now, one of those, according to the Israelis, has been found not to have been a hostage. Now, this, of course, sounds very threatening to the prospects of this ceasefire, but it's important to note this has happened before. Back in February, during the last time the guns fell silent over Gaza, it didn't wreck the ceasefire then, and it probably won't this time, as long as Hamas comes up with these corpses and is able to transfer them to the Israelis, and the Israelis are able to verify them. For now, because everybody knows that this is going to be a complicated operation, in my opinion, it looks as though the ceasefire might hold despite this. But as days and weeks go on, it's going to become less, the Israelis are going to become less patient with the delays in getting these bodies back, and that really could have problems. We saw earlier this week, the punishment was not a return to the fighting, but something like sanctions. The Israelis saying they were cutting off half of the aid trucks that they were going to allow into the Gaza Strip as punishment.
Yeah, Matt. So, I mean, this may not put the ceasefire, end the ceasefire, but this slow return of hostages is certainly provoking anger from Israel. That's why only half of the agreed-upon aid trucks are entering Gaza. Talk about what is happening there. We know it's just a drop in the bucket, but are they starting to get some of the aid they need?
Yeah, I mean, and it sounds like from the United Nations, we just heard from them saying that there have been thousands of tons of aid that have come in the last 3 days, including cooking oil. You've been seeing a lot of these Palestinians looking for beat up pieces of wood in order to cook the little food that they have. Well, now, for the first time in several months, it looks as though cooking oil, cooking fuel is now in the hands of Gazans in the Gaza Strip. So it looks as though things have turned a corner. However, there's still a lot of frustration with the slowness of aid arriving. The deal would allow for 600 trucks a day. That's at the upper limit of what the United Nations and other aid agencies say is necessary to feed the Gazan population. And one of the reasons why is because during that last ceasefire, 600 or 500 trucks were coming in every day. This is the plan, to flood the Gaza Strip with aid. And hopefully, according to people that I've been speaking to in the humanitarian community, that will also reduce a lot of the incidents of deadly violence around some of these aid distribution sites, which is essentially a function of the chaos and the desperation of the population.
Matt, also, Hamas has maintained its presence in Gaza, saying they are, the quote is, implementing a plan to enforce the law. This is after videos circulated online this week showing Hamas fighters executing a circle of people in Gaza City. Tell us about what this enforcement from Hamas has looked like on the ground, who they're targeting, but also explain how does that fit into this peace deal, where one of these 20 points is that Hamas is supposed to disarm and not be in control.
Yeah, it looks as though Hamas has not agreed to disarm. We know that they hadn't agreed to disarm because they didn't really mention it in their first reply. This is all part of Phase 2, this concept of disarmament. And Phase 2 is untrod territory. We don't know what this is going to look like. The terms of it have not really been negotiated, even though President Trump has said that negotiations for it are ongoing. So that violence you're seeing, that's Hamas operatives shooting people, mostly members of clans who are opposed to Hamas, who they say have either been spying for Israel or collaborating directly with the Israelis. It's grim, it's grisly, but this is often what happens after a lot of conflicts when Hamas remains in power.
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you very much.
Let's get more on the humanitarian situation in Gaza with UNICEF spokesperson and communications manager for Middle East and North Africa, Tess Ingram. Tess, good to have you with us. So as we're talking about here, under the terms of this ceasefire, Israel was supposed to allow this unrestricted aid into Gaza, but Israel's only allowing about half in right now because of this concern over the return of the remains of some of those hostages. Talk about the impact of that. Have you been able to scale up your work since this ceasefire came into effect this week?
We've got aid in since the ceasefire. We had, as UNICEF, more than 40 trucks come in on Sunday, but of course that needs to increase dramatically. And we were really hoping that today, tomorrow, we would begin to see meaningful volumes of trucks come into the Gaza Strip. So, look, it's bad news if aid is restricted, if the volumes of aid remain low. Aid should not be used as a bargaining chip. It is something that the children, the people of Gaza so desperately need. And our teams are here on the ground waiting for the thousands of trucks that we've got ready outside so that we can distribute them to families wherever they are.
We've all seen these images of just unprecedented destruction in Gaza. Being on the ground, help us to understand the sheer scale of the aid operation that's needed right now and how it compares to any other places that you've operated in.
The destruction is mind-bending. It's unlike anything myself or our colleagues have seen in other conflicts. Just this week, I spent 3 days in the north of Gaza, in and around Gaza City, where we know there was intense fighting in the months leading right into the ceasefire. We were seeing that area for the first time since then. And it's really, I'm almost lost for words here. It's hard to explain how shocking it is to see street after street after street reduced to rubble and families returning to that environment, trying to figure out how they move forward. People there are desperate for water because, of course, if they're going to try and live there, they need water to survive, they need food, they need medical care, and they need shelter. So the list is long, and that, again, that's why we need to scale up aid through all available crossings.
Yeah, and you mentioned water. We often think of just these aid trucks coming in, but there's so many other projects UNICEF has been working on. We're going to show a video here of a water desalination plant that UNICEF managed to rebuild. Tell us about this and why it's so important right now.
This is a plant that I visited just a couple of days ago in Gaza City, and it provides safe drinking water to people. Desalination plants are really important here because the water that comes from the ground is not safe for people to drink. So these pieces of machinery are a lifeline to families. We managed to keep that one safe despite the heavy bombardment in Gaza City. So we were excited to kick it back on and make sure that it was working just a few days ago. And now it's pumping water to people, but we need many more of those. And then we need the trucks to take the water from those desalination plants across the rubble to families in their places of refuge.
Also, as people try to move back home, try to see what's left of where they lived, the healthcare issue is another huge question. Hospitals in Gaza, obviously, many of them not operating. We also have a video here of a children's hospital where all of the life-saving equipment was destroyed. How common are scenes like this across Gaza, and what's the status of getting any of that type of equipment back in?
It's devastating to see hospitals like that. They should be places of healing and care for children. That particular hospital, UNICEF had incubators in there, ventilators that are now lost underneath the rubble. And I've been to hospitals before, and I know what they're like when they save children's lives. So it's heartbreaking to see them like that. We are desperately trying to bring in incubators and other life-saving equipment and medicines for hospitals to help them get back on their knees. Because as you say, there are unfortunately far too many hospitals in the Gaza Strip that have come under attack in this conflict, which I should add is against international humanitarian law. Hospitals must always be protected because of that life-saving service they provide. And when you walk into these neonatal intensive care units and you see the tiny babies clinging on for life in the incubators, it really drives home just how important it is.
And with that in mind, Tess, just what is your message to the international community right now in this moment?
I think the message is this is not over. Yes, the ceasefire is amazing news for the hostages who've been returned to their loved ones who've been waiting for them for so long, for the children of Gaza that don't have to fear the bombs anymore. But the suffering here continues. And so this is a moment for us to really step up for kids, to get that aid in and get it to them quickly, because a lot is at stake here. The needs remain high and they are urgent.
Tess Ingram, thank you so much for joining us. Please continue to keep us updated on everything that's happening there.
Thank you.
Well, back here in the United States, the ongoing federal government shutdown is now the 5th longest in U.S. history.
And Republicans and Democrats are still very much at odds when it comes to funding the government. There are no signs of any breakthroughs on the horizon. The Senate voted again last night for an 8th time to reject the House GOP short-term funding bill, which would have funded the government into November. The Senate is set to vote again today for the 9th time, but the House remains in recess.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona joins us from Washington with the latest. Mel, good morning. So this is day 15 here. Republicans are insisting that Senate Democrats should vote for the short-term funding bill. They're accusing the Democrats of holding the government hostage, really, while the shutdown goes on. What are we hearing from congressional leaders? How dug in are both sides of this fight? Are they talking to each other?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Forgive me if I sound like a broken record, but there are zero signs of progress towards ending this stalemate. The Senate keeps holding these votes to reopen the government, and not a single senator has changed their vote since prior to the shutdown when they began voting on that bill. And meanwhile, Democratic and Republican leaders have not talked or even met with each other since the shutdown began. So both sides are really dug in at this point, and they are also bracing for a long conflict. Just take a listen to House Speaker Mike Johnson and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
It's 2 weeks of Democrats in Congress inflicting untold pain on the American people for nothing other than pure politics. We're not playing games. They're playing a game. We're not. The strategy is to do the right and obvious thing and keep the government moving for the people.
House Democrats and Senate Democrats remain committed to finding a bipartisan path forward to reopen the government, but there has to be a willingness amongst Republicans to actually have a conversation.
Now, over in the Senate, GOP leader John Thune is finally starting to shake up his shutdown strategy. Tomorrow, he hopes to put a bill on the floor that would be a year-long funding bill for the Defense Department, which includes paying the military and the troops. And the hope among Republicans is that this will be finally something that potentially could shake some Democrats loose, can show some signs of momentum. But so far, Democrats have been really united in this shutdown fight. So we'll see whether they actually break ranks tomorrow. And even so, that would not end the shutdown entirely.
And Mel, with each passing day, we're seeing how the shutdown's impacting people all across the country. That includes now those who keep the streets around the Capitol itself safe. The Union for U.S. Capitol Police's officers have now missed their first paycheck. What more can you tell us about this and how operations then could be impacted?
Yeah, so the Capitol Police, they received half a paycheck on Saturday. It did not include overtime, and that could be the last paycheck they see in a while, depending on how long this shutdown really drags on. Now, they are being offered loans to help bridge the gap, but we talked to some police officers who are just deeply concerned about what this means for them, whether they're going to have to dip into their savings. And this all comes as the police force has already been really strained and struggling in recent years, particularly after the January 6th attack on the Capitol. But one group in the Capitol that is getting paid during the shutdown, that's members of Congress, whom the police officers are charged with protecting every single day.
Mel, there are a lot of opinions out there regarding who is to blame for this shutdown, not just between both sides on Capitol Hill, but also we have new data shedding light on how Americans feel about the last 2 weeks. Walk us through where we all stand on this funding fight among lawmakers.
Yeah, there are a couple new polls out. I think that really sheds light on the attitudes of Americans towards lawmakers in this shutdown fight. Two of those polls have Republicans getting slightly more of the blame than Democrats. One of the poll has Democrats getting more of the blame. But the most interesting number to me is that both equally column, you see 23% in one poll, 31% in another, have responded saying everyone's getting the blame. So I think the big takeaway here is that there are very few political winners in a fight. Everyone walks away more bruised and battered than when they went into the fight. And meanwhile, of course, federal workers' lives all hanging in the balance. Guys.
All right, Mel, thank you very much.
The Department of Homeland Security says it has obtained what it calls credible intelligence to suggest that Mexican drug cartels are offering $50,000 to kill federal immigration officers in Chicago. This comes after another clash in the city as Border Patrol agents tried to make an arrest. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the latest.
Tear gas deployed after another clash in Chicago during President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. Homeland Security officials say an SUV carrying an undocumented immigrant trying to flee arrest first rammed a Border Patrol vehicle. Then the Border Patrol vehicle crashed into the SUV to stop it. Chicago police say a hostile crowd started throwing objects at federal agents who then deployed tear gas. 13 officers were exposed to it.
There's absolutely no reason to have this kind of chaos happening in our communities, putting people at risk, just exacerbating the fear that people feel right now.
The latest clash comes as DHS says Mexican drug cartels are now offering cash to target ICE officers and other federal agents. $5,000 to $10,000 for kidnapping or assaults on officers, and up to $50,000 for the assassination of high-ranking officials.
We're not backing down. President Trump and Secretary Noem are going to give our law enforcement the resources they need to succeed and clean up America's streets.
The president once again touting his crackdown on crime in Democratic-led cities.
Chicago, we've already made a lot of progress despite fighting from the government, but Chicago's doing great.
Our thanks to Gabe Gutierrez for that report. Chicago's Democratic Mayor Brandon Johnson is refusing to play a video of Homeland Security Secretary of Security Kristi Noem at airport security checkpoints where she blames the ongoing government shutdown on Democrats. A few other airports have also declined to play it. Johnson calls the video, quote, propaganda using taxpayer resources.
Newly released video shows the frightening moments when a man set the Pennsylvania governor's mansion on fire earlier this year. This video came to light after the suspect pleaded guilty to attempted murder and arson charges yesterday. As NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk explains, Governor Josh Shapiro, who was inside the home with his family when the attack happened, is still feeling the impact of that night.
It was early morning last April. Prosecutors say this is 38-year-old Cody Balmer, armed with Molotov cocktails and a sledgehammer, setting the Pennsylvania governor's mansion on fire. Moments later, he smashed another window, got inside, and ignited a second blaze.
It's especially hard to know that he tried to burn our family to death while we slept.
Balmer pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including attempted murder and arson. He was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. 22 people were in the residence that night. Governor Josh Shapiro, his wife, 3 of their children, along with extended family, including young nephews and nieces, all sleeping behind these double doors that Balmer tried to kick in.
Those doors that he tried to break through, that metal hammer that he wielded that apparently he wanted to use to kill me with.
The governor visibly rattled by the security camera videos.
They've been haunting me for months.
His family had been celebrating the Jewish holiday Passover. According to prosecutors, Balmer was angry about the war in Gaza, so he targeted the governor.
I think it's important that in this time of rising political violence that none of us grow numb to it.
The attack taking place in the same state where less than a year before someone tried to assassinate President Donald Trump. The governor said his family supports the plea deal.
I think we need real accountability for acts of political violence. And today is real accountability.
But his family, he says, even with increased security, still feels vulnerable. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
From the Rockies to the Southern Plains, temperatures feeling summer-like today in some areas. Let's get more details with your morning news now. Weather meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us. Angie, good morning.
Hi, Joe. Good morning. We're keeping those short sleeves out for a little longer in some spots. We've got temperatures running way above normal if you look in the middle of the country and really stretching out to the southeast. Some cooler air in place across the west, so we've really got these divided highs. You look out to the west coast and it's just 68 degrees for Las Vegas. We're running almost 20 degrees below normal there. We've got 80s in Tucson. Across the midsection of the country, it's low 80s for St. Louis, Little Rock, Dodge City. Today, we'll see those high 80s stretch across the southern tier of that region. And even as we get into tomorrow, not much change. Still dealing with the cooler air centered across the west with 50s across Salt Lake City and Casper. We've got 80s as we look up towards Lincoln, even Minneapolis running way warm tomorrow with a high of 69 degrees. So still holding on to some of that warmth. And then we keep it essentially pleasantly mild as we roll into our upcoming weekend. So it's 70s to start the weekend in Milwaukee. We drop down to those low 60s by Sunday, 80s in Columbus on Saturday. Cooler air arrives by Sunday with those high 60s. And then a mixed bag for New York City. We're kind of on the cooler end as we round out the work week. And then we end up back into those low 70s by the time we finish out our weekend. There is winter-like weather across the west, as I mentioned. It's not just the chilly temperatures, but also additionally some of that snow. We saw that system working across parts of the west yesterday that really increased chance of flooding, and we saw kind of a mess of a day across Southern California. That same system is working farther east today and now impacting parts of the Rockies. So you'll see some areas of rain, snow across that region, and then those scattered showers and even a couple of stronger thunderstorms possible from New Mexico to South Dakota. It looks as if hail will be the main threat. It's not a wide-ranging area, but still, just a heads up if you're going to be out and about this afternoon, we'll see that ramp up. And then we'll see some steady rain across parts of the northern plains for tomorrow. Some of these stronger storms, though, centered across Colorado and Kansas, specifically East Colorado and West Kansas. So we'll watch for that. By the time this is all said and done, we'll pick up a good dose of rain, especially where we'll see the steadier rainfall through tomorrow across those northern plains, maybe an inch or so. Not concerned so much about any flooding, but more so interruption of plans. And then as far as the snow is concerned, we'll pick up maybe a good half of a foot in some locations. Of course, those higher peaks could see maybe closer to a foot, but 'tis the season. We've kind of got a mixed bag out there, Joe. We've got some people feeling like summer, some people dealing with winter. Here in the Northeast, it's kind of mild.
Either skiing or swimming.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, is it protein or poison? A new report warns that some popular powder supplements contain a hidden ingredient that could be harming your health. What doctors want you to know. Up first, so after the break, we're going to take you to Florida, where a confrontation gone viral is shining a spotlight on a controversial state law. Stay with us. The backlash is growing over a violent confrontation between a police officer and a mother. That moment was caught on camera outside of a school in Florida. The mother's attorneys are now accusing the officer of using excessive force, while the department is standing by his actions. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has the video and a warning. It is disturbing.
This physical altercation between parent and police officer began with a disagreement over parking. The parent, Erica McGriff, speaking out for the first time.
All I was trying to do was get my daughter out of school without getting wet. Hey, where you going? What are you doing? I need your license.
Police body camera footage edited and released by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office shows an officer approach McGriff outside her 9-year-old daughter's school last week.
I did not do anything wrong.
Police say McGriff's driver's license had been revoked and that she illegally parked her car.
No, I did not leave that vehicle. You can get a ticket? I was the passenger. You can get a ticket or you can keep playing this game and go to jail.
Then the officer, identified by the sheriff as Officer Holton, grabs McGriff. The situation rapidly unravels. The sheriff also releasing this cell phone video. He says McGriff committed an unprovoked attack on the officer.
She violently resisted Officer Holton and eventually punched him repeatedly and bit him with such force that she left a bite impression on his forearm.
McGriff is facing multiple third-degree felony charges.
This was excessive force on every level when you think about how he manhandled and brutalized this unarmed black woman over what was a traffic citation.
Our thanks to Jesse Kirsch for that report. Now, the sheriff says that the officer's conduct has already been reviewed. They determined he followed the law. In addition to McGriff, 2 bystanders were arrested. They're accused of violating a controversial new Florida law. It's called the HALO law. Police say those 2 women broke the law by coming within 25 feet of that officer. We want to dig into that here now. That's why we have NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris here with us. So first of all, tell us, what is this HALO law? It's new in Florida, but it's not the only state that has this,
correct.
Right?
So the HALO law is a 25-foot buffer around law enforcement or any first responder while they're engaged in their duties. So if somebody is told by law enforcement to back up and intentionally enters that 25-foot boundary, they can be charged with a misdemeanor and subject to fines and 60 days in jail.
This feels like it could be somewhat subjective, especially if you're looking at words like harassment. That can be kind of vague. Is this the kind of thing that could be easily challenged in court by someone who's arrested?
So it's pretty easy to see because there's other states that have actually enacted this law, Indiana being one of them, and it is on pause by the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals for that vagueness, that the statute is not sufficiently specific enough as to how to actually enforce these laws. So it can be too subjective for officers and ultimately lead to improper conduct because there really is no guidance. So in this particular statute, that term harassment, as defined as in a legitimate emotional distress to an officer and for no legitimate purpose, but those terms aren't defined. So that's something that you're going to see being challenged.
I'm thinking of someone who, because everyone's got a camera now, it's their phone, might be recording an interaction like this. Could they be arrested under this law?
So that's actually one of the criticisms that it impinges on First Amendment rights. So we know oftentimes bystander video is something that's used for transparency in law enforcement, and that is a First Amendment protected right. So the critics of this statute are also challenging it on those First Amendment grounds because it's a little foggy. They say that it doesn't preclude someone from videoing an interaction, but with that 25-foot rule, what does that really mean practically?
Yeah, and I'm thinking as a journalist, I've always known, hey, if I'm on public ground, whether you like it or not, I can, take pictures of you or do whatever as long as I'm not infringing on your space. So just generally speaking, I mean, what kind of rights do people have when they're on the street? Does that change depending on what's happening around you?
Well, it can, because in any case, if you interfere with law enforcement, that could be criminal. So this is really about that 25-foot buffer and whether or not that is something that's specific enough to actually enforce without it being arbitrary. And to your point, media organizations were the first to actually step forward and say, this is a real First Amendment concern.
This is also something I think we're seeing more and more of when we see people protesting the ICE arrests. We've seen this all over the country. So if you are protesting something like an arrest, like it's happening in Portland or what we've seen in Chicago, what are your rights there?
Right. And October 18th, there's a No Kings protest that's going to be going on across the country. So as far as protests, it has to be peaceful. And there is restriction. It's not a free-for-all. Restrictions for time, place, and manner. So if you're blocking a road, that's illegal. Engaging in any violence, that's illegal. So it's important to understand what the local and state laws are, in addition to ensuring that you're not engaging in any illegal conduct outside of the protest.
All right. Ms. Damaris, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Got some international headlines now. The mayor of Odessa has been stripped of his Ukrainian citizenship over alleged ties with Russia. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lubanga joins us from Rome with our world news in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Well, that's right. On Tuesday, President Zelensky has revoked the Ukrainian citizenship of the mayor of Odessa, the country's third largest city, over allegations that he's also holding a Russian citizenship. Now, the mayor, his name is Hennady Truchanov, is a former member of a now banned pro-Russia party, but in a statement, he's denied he's a citizen of Russia and said he will appeal Zelensky's decision. Let's go to the Indonesian island of Flores now, where a volcano erupted, spewing ash an estimated 6 miles into the sky. Authorities there have raised the volcano emergency alert to its highest level and warned residents and tourists to stay away from the mountain and prepare for an evacuation. And let's end this tour of the world at the Natural History Museum in London, where the winners of the Wildlife Photographer of the Year awards have been announced. The main prize went to a picture of a brown hyena standing behind an abandoned diamond mining settlement in Namibia. The photographer said it took him 10 years to get the shot right after patiently following the tracks of the hyenas. Now, Joe, if you look at the picture carefully and look at the expression of hyena, the hyena seems to say, okay, you got your picture now. Can you just stop following us?
Yeah, no kidding. He's not smiling or saying cheese, but 10 years, that's a long time to get that picture. All right, Claudio, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
That's a long time.
Coming up on Morning News now, outbreak concerns at schools all across the country.
We're doing all of this work only to be undone possibly by measles, which is a very preventable disease.
Hundreds of students across several states quarantined for measles exposure, what parents need to know. And researchers sounding the alarm on the impacts of social media on children's brains. Your weekly checkup is next. This is Morning News Now. We are back with new concerns about the growing number of measles cases in the U.S. Health officials confirmed hundreds of students are now in quarantine after outbreaks in schools in many states. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda spoke to one doctor about this rise in cases.
Mounting measles cases are driving concerns in classrooms and forcing hundreds to quarantine. In South Carolina, the state's health department reporting 5 new infections, nearly doubling an October outbreak in Spartanburg County, where Dr. Chris Lombardozzi works.
We've never seen this before and hope not to see it again.
There have been exposures to the disease in the region at a fitness center, plus 2 schools, according to officials, forcing nearly 140 unvaccinated students to stay home right now and watch for symptoms like fever, cough, and rash.
You can start spreading or shedding virus to other people long before you know that you have measles.
Dr. Lombardozzi is concerned about slipping vaccination rates, which in Spartanburg County is at 90%, 5 percentage points short of herd immunity. NBC News found most of the country with available data is also below that 95% level as new outbreaks bubble up across the U.S., including in central Ohio and near the Twin Cities, where health officials say 118 students who have been exposed are in quarantine. Back in the Palmetto State, Jennifer Sevick is concerned for her husband, who is a cancer patient and immunocompromised.
How would you describe the emotion in all of this?
There's definitely fear. We're fighting for his life. We're doing all of this work only to be undone possibly by measles, which is a very preventable disease.
Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
In other health news, protein powder is one of the most popular health and fitness supplements on the market right now, but it's not regulated or approved by the FDA. Well, a recent analysis by Consumer Reports revealed several protein powders contain high levels of lead. Some even have more than 10 times the amount that experts say is safe to consume in a day. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson has more.
This is my favorite protein smoothie.
There's no denying the passion for protein powders and shakes.
And this is like my protein shake that I drink after the gym.
An estimated $10 billion market in the U.S. But Consumer Reports says several popular powders and shakes commonly sold by big retailers may be giving you something else: lead. Of 23 powders and shakes Consumer Reports tested, it found in a single serving more than 2/3 of the products had more lead than what its experts say is safe to consume in a day.
Do these products need to be regulated?
Definitely. There currently are no limits for lead in protein powders. There are no enforceable standards available.
The report advises against daily use for most protein powders, pointing to a link between chronic lead exposure and health issues.
With chronic exposure to lead, you can get a bunch of different problems, such as kidney disease, high blood pressure. You can get neurotoxicity, so peripheral neuropathy, like pain and nerve pain, and it can cause some immune problems as well.
Consumer Reports cited 2 products, Naked Nutrition's vegan mass gainer powder and Huel Black's Edition powder, as containing enough lead that our experts advise against consuming them. The makers of both telling NBC News the levels of lead in their products are within recognized safety limits. Consumer Reports saying some popular drinks like Ensure plant-based protein nutrition shake are okay to consume in moderation, making sure you are gaining strength and not trouble. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Let's talk more about this and some other health headlines with NBC News medical contributor Dr. Akshay Syal. Dr. Syal, good to have you with us. So let's talk about these shakes. How worried should people be about the lead levels found? Is protein powder safe to consume?
I think a lot of people are wondering that, Joe, and myself included. You know, I have 3 tubs of this stuff sitting on my counter, so it's something I've been consuming for years. I mean, you know, Joe, I think the researchers, if you read the report from Consumer Reports, had a really good takeaway, which is that, you know, they're not saying don't consume this stuff, but just be sort of mindful of what you're putting in your body. And some things to point out, you know, plant-based levels of or plant-based protein powders did have higher levels of lead compared to things like whey. So that's one thing you can do to reduce your exposure. And, you know, Joe, they did test almost 24 brands, and they sort of listed which ones they think are better, which ones they think are medium, and which ones they think are worse. So if you're curious, definitely look up that data. And that kind of brings us to our doctor's orders here, Joe. You know, make sure that if you are on a protein powder, one, you're looking up the lead levels in that Consumer Reports data, and 2, opt for other sources, right? And what I mean by this is, do you really need to be consuming protein powder? You know, talk to your nutritionist, talk to your doctor if you have one. Most people don't necessarily need to be consuming this every day. If you are somebody who is looking to put on muscle, you're looking to, you know, look like our colleague Stephen Romo, then yeah, you may need a protein powder in addition to your diet.
Shout out to Stephen Romo there. But 3 tubs, do you have any counter space left, or does that just take up the entire thing?
I have a dedicated sort of Costco-sized wing of protein powder in my house, like most of my guy friends do as well, yeah.
All right. Let's get into the rest of our medical checkup here. We've got a new study out adding to this the growing evidence that popular weight loss drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic could actually curb your desire to drink as well as eat. What did researchers find?
You know, for a long time, Joe, there have been this sort of anecdotes and small studies emerging that, you know, weight loss drugs like Wegovy and Zepbound may actually cure or fix addiction and reduce cravings to other things beyond just food. You can see in this study here, Joe, this week, essentially researchers looking at about 20 or so participants and seeing, you know, they had them consume alcohol, and they had, you know, some people on these drugs and some people not. And really what they found was that people on these medications, Joe, they had sort of lower absorption of alcohol into their bloodstream, right? And the theory is that that may actually help reduce cravings because it's less of that fast hit, sort of fast spike of alcohol and more of a sort of slow burn into the bloodstream, which theoretically should help reduce cravings. Of course, we are still waiting to see more. And that brings us to our doctor's orders here, Joe. If you are on these medications, make sure you are taking it slow. Do not go to the max dose all at once. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you start to experience any side effects on the medication.
Let's get to our last study. It suggests that even just 1 hour of social media use a day may affect kids' brain function. Tell us more about the connection here.
Yeah, so researchers, Joe, this is a big study. This is an ABCD study. It's an ongoing study from the NIH, the National Institute of Health. And essentially what they found was that, they were looking at kids about age 9 to 10 years old, tracking their social media habits and also looking at their test scores. And really what they found, as little as 1 hour can have an effect. It is a dose response curve, meaning the more time you spend on social media, the lower we found some of the test scores, Joe. And that is obviously, the subtext here is a lot of cell phone bans coming out, a lot of social media bans coming out. So this obviously, another data point supporting, maybe that is the direction to go. That brings us to our doctor's orders here. If you are a parent of somebody in that age group or an adolescent, a young adult, don't be afraid to use the screen time feature, the screen limit feature. You can set app restrictions, for example, only X amount of time on Instagram or Twitter if they are using those. So don't be afraid to take advantage of those smartphone tools, Joe.
Especially before bedtime. All right, Dr. Sayal, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Coming up, it is the press versus the Pentagon. 5 major news networks, including NBC, taking on the Department of Defense over new press policies. More on that fight that's sparking a debate over protections for journalists. You're watching Morning News Now. We're back now with a look at that growing standoff between the Pentagon and the press. 5 major broadcast news networks, including NBC News, have refused to sign up to a new press policy from the Department of Defense. That new policy says reporters could have their press passes revoked if they publish information that has not been authorized for release by the Pentagon, even if the information is unclassified. Well, NBC put out a joint statement yesterday along with ABC News, CBS News, CNN, and Fox News Media. It says, quote, "We join virtually every other news organization in declining to agree to the Pentagon's new requirements, which would restrict journalists' ability to keep the nation and the world informed of important national security issues." Goes on to say that the policy is without precedent and threatens core journalistic protections. More on this, let's bring in NBC News senior political reporter John Allen. John, good to have you with us. So, obviously these media organizations are unified in rejecting the Pentagon's new policy, even Fox News. Tell us more about these new rules and why journalists are so concerned about them.
Hey, good morning, Joe. I think the sort of broad view here is that what the Pentagon is asking reporters to do is not report anything that hasn't come out effectively in a press release from the Defense Department. And not only not report things, but this policy would also ban reporters from asking questions about information that hasn't been released from the Pentagon. So, for example, if a reporter asked somebody at the Defense Department, anybody at any level, whether you're talking about a general or lower down, say how many U.S. troops were stationed overseas, or in a particular post, that would be against the policy. And reporters are upset by this. It's not, I don't want to so much say that they were upset by it. I think they're just unwilling to sign an acknowledgement that they will be a propaganda arm of the United States government.
What journalists are being asked to do is the exact opposite of journalism here, which is why journalism exists. So, the Pentagon said reporters who didn't sign this statement agreeing to the new rules by the deadline yesterday would have their press credentials revoked. I think, everyone but OAN has declined to sign this. So where do things go from here? Has that happened yet?
I think we'll have to see, Joe. What I was hearing yesterday is that most of these organizations, most of these reporters were ready to turn in their credentials today. We'll see if the Defense Department actually demands that they do that. I think it would be very odd if the Pentagon had a single news outlet covering what's going on inside the Defense Department. It may be that that this was a bluff that was called and the Defense Department backs off, or they'll revoke the credentials of news organizations that have been inside that building since, dating back at least since the Eisenhower administration. There are, pros and cons to being inside as a reporter. The pro is that you have proximity to people, but the con is that it is, easy to be co-opted by the host. And so I don't think the Pentagon's actually going to buy itself better news coverage by kicking reporters out of the building. I think what it will do is make it harder to fill their days with briefings and to stack them with paper that is the narrative of the Defense Department.
Instead, reporters just might be calling more of their sources to try and break some more news. So it's notable here the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is a former news host himself for Fox and Friends Weekend. When he was nominated, he said he would promise to lead the most transparent Pentagon in American history. What has the reality been like?
Oh, it's very much not been the most transparent Pentagon in history. Although, to be fair, and I think President Trump pointed this out yesterday, it's not necessarily in the interest of the government and sometimes not in the interest of the American public for the Defense Department to be completely transparent. Obviously, there are secrets, war plans. Secretary Hegseth himself got in trouble earlier this year, or at least, had a scandal cycle over his use of Signal, a commercial app, to discuss non-public information. It's interesting that he is targeting reporters right now, since he's obviously been somebody who's abused that privilege of having non-public information. But it has not been the most transparent Defense Department. Secretary Hegseth has not made himself available to the press in the way that other defense secretaries have, and there's a clear desire to crack down on independent journalism.
And the issue, and with a little transparency here ourselves, we should wish you, John, happy birthday. It is your birthday today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Jeff.
29, you look fantastic. All right.
29 again.
All right, John Allen, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Let's get to some financial headlines now. Apple is eyeing Vietnam for its latest expansion push. CNBC's Frank Holland joins us with that and some other money news. Frank, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Joe. We're going to start with some Apple news. Apple plans to expand manufacturing in Vietnam to reduce its dependence on China as part of a push into the smart home market. Bloomberg is reporting Apple's working on some new devices, including indoor security cameras and a home hub with a display that can control your appliances. It's also planning to build more iPads in Vietnam and is developing a tabletop robot that can be launched in 2027. Apple is also teasing the imminent launch of a new MacBook with an M5 chip, which the company has developed internally. Apple's marketing chief posting a bit of a cryptic message on X, saying in part, something powerful is coming, with a short video that includes the words coming soon and a silhouette of a laptop. The new MacBook isn't a major surprise. It was reported already by Bloomberg and a few other outlets. The new M5 iPads are expected to be announced later this week. And billionaire philanthropist Mackenzie Scott is reducing her stake in Amazon by more than 40% over the last year. That's according to a new regulatory filing with the SEC. Scott is, of course, the ex-wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. She now holds about 81 million shares, down nearly 60 million from a year ago. She's known to give large grants to small nonprofits with no strings attached. Scott gave away $2 billion to about 200 groups last year. Joe, back over to you.
Thanks, Frank. Coming up, it is being called a love letter from New York to New York, an online art project, now a real-life exhibit at one of the city's most iconic locations.
It's one thing to have it on social media. Does this just take it to a whole new level? This is just an entire stage to celebrate the diversity of the city.
When we come back, my conversation with the man behind the mega-viral Humans of New York, whose work is now on display at the world-famous Grand Central Terminal. Morning News Now. We'll be right back. We end this hour with a viral art project brought to life right here in New York City. 15 years ago, Brandon Stanton started featuring the Humans of New York on social media. Now, almost 13 million followers later, his work is being featured on a massive scale in one of the city's most iconic locations.
With its majestic architecture, Grand Central Terminal has always projected the aura of a museum. Well, now this famous place is a dazzling canvas.
When you look and see your photos projected on Grand Central Station, what goes through your mind? It's the joy of my life.
Brandon Stanton is the artist behind Humans of New York, where candid portraits of everyday New Yorkers and their stories are shared on social media, a popular two-dimensional project that's now in 3D.
So this is the physical manifestation of the last 15 years of my work.
For 2 weeks, his photos are 50-foot projections on the train depot's walls. He calls it Dear New York.
I think it's a love letter from New York to New York. It's one thing to have it on social media. Does this just take it to a whole new level? Yeah. Everyone who comes here is a part of this. The 750,000 people who pass through every single day are part of this art. This is just an entire stage to celebrate the diversity of the city.
And it doesn't stop in the concourse. Go down to the subway.
We wanted to have these big, powerful portraits here.
You'll find Stanton's pictures all over.
The funny thing about New York is that that guy could walk through here right now and only about 10% of people would even stop and notice him.
What you'll certainly notice, the people have replaced all the ads, all part of an experience crafted by famed set designer David Corrins.
You've done a lot of work on Broadway. How is this different?
In Broadway, you're trying to find your audience. Here, the audience shows up, literally at all times of the day. It is the ultimate show.
10 up-and-coming photographers also get to showcase their work here, including Sabrina Santiago.
I never thought that my pictures would hang in these halls, and I just have goosebumps even thinking about them, even though they're right here.
Not to mention the photos from 600 New York City students.
They will remember this for the rest of their lives, and that's real to me.
Stanton is funding it using the proceeds from his new book, also called Dear New York.
It looks fantastic because of you. Thank you.
He says the months of hard work are worth it because here at Grand Central, the humans of New York aren't just connecting to their trains, they're connecting with each other. And if you haven't had a chance to see the installation in Grand Central yet, you do still have time. Dear New York runs through this Sunday. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us. The news continues right now.
Good morning. Thank you for starting your Wednesday with us. I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, promises and pushback. That fragile ceasefire in the Middle East appearing to hold this morning, even after Israel threatened to halve the supply of vital humanitarian aid into Gaza over Hamas's failure to return the bodies of all deceased hostages, a key sticking point of President Trump's Phase 1 peace plan. It comes as the commander-in-chief issues a dire new warning to the militant group, painting an uncertain picture of a path to peace. Also this morning, the lights remain off in Washington as the government shutdown rolls on into week 3 with no breakthrough in sight. The ripple effect now coming into focus from coast to coast. National parks shuttered. Major airports hit with staffing shortages, leading to widespread delays. And with top lawmakers at a standstill, some Democrats are now looking to the White House for a way out of it all. We've got the latest. Plus, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month this October, a candid conversation on the simple, healthy lifestyle changes that some experts say could actually help prevent more than half of new cases. And later in the hour, 6-7, the little numbers causing big problems in classrooms across America. Why some teachers are now banning the slang trend. And by the way, it's not just that you say 6-7, you go 6-7. So we'll get into that a little bit later. We're going to begin this hour, though, in the Middle East, of course, where the slow return of the remains of hostages by Hamas, as agreed upon in this first phase of President Trump's peace plan, is stoking anger in Israel. The militant group returned 4 bodies overnight after Israel threatened to cut aid to the enclave in half. Israeli authorities have identified 3 of them. They're now saying, though, that 1 does not match any of the hostages. Now, the militant group was supposed to release the remains of 28 hostages in this first phase. 21, though, remain in Gaza. However, all parties of the agreement previously acknowledged this was unlikely to happen by Monday and that a plan would be in place to find them in the future. It's, of course, now Wednesday. Meanwhile, President Trump is calling on Hamas to disarm as his administration works on the next phase of his plan. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Hake has the latest from the White House.
The ceasefire that allowed for the release of those 20 living hostages continues to hold in Gaza, even amid new concerns this morning about Hamas's ability and willingness to turn over the bodies of deceased hostages, which were also a core part of the agreement with Israel. Now, both President Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister are warning Hamas to follow through on that and on the second phase of this deal to disarm and demilitarize or face dire consequences. This morning, new tensions as the historic and fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas continues. Amid the reunions of the living Israeli hostages returned from the Gaza Strip, Hamas releasing the remains of 4 more hostages yesterday. But Israel now saying one of the bodies does not match any of the hostages. The process a central point of tension. Earlier, Israel informing the United Nations it planned to cut the number of aid trucks allowed into Gaza in half to protest what it says was Hamas's failure to produce the bodies of all deceased hostages. The peace plan brokered by President Trump required Hamas to return all of the remains. But Hamas has said some may be lost or buried under rubble. And all sides agreed that if they weren't returned, a plan would be in place to find them in the future.
We're a bit down right now. We had great anticipation yesterday.
Rotem Cooper, whose father Amiram died in Hamas captivity, calling the failure to return his father's remains a, quote, huge disappointment. In Gaza, some truckloads of aid are once again reaching a starving population, and tens of thousands are returning home. Still, the road from ceasefire to peace is riddled with challenges, including fully disarming Hamas. Disturbing footage emerging from Gaza City showing Hamas gunmen conducting public executions as President Trump issued a warning.
If they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm.
That sentiment echoed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in an interview with CBS News.
It's not only that we get the hostages out without getting our military out, but that we would subsequently have both demilitarization and disarmament.
Here at the White House, some focus is already shifting to the other global conflict that has frustrated the president's efforts to solve Russia's war in Ukraine. President Zelensky set to visit on Friday with a focus expected to be on Ukraine's desire for longer-range weapons like Tomahawk missiles to strike inside Russia. So far, President Trump has been non-committal on that possibility.
All right, Garrett, thank you very much. Well, let's talk about the humanitarian situation in Gaza with Spanish Dr. Raul Inciertes. He's an emergency doctor and an anesthesiologist who spent 4 months volunteering at 2 hospitals in Gaza between April and June of this year. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. First, I think I'll just ask a question that a lot of people are wondering for somebody who spent months in Gaza during this conflict. Just how dangerous did every day feel being there?
A lot. The hospital was attacked by Israel 4 times while I was there, with no warning, not warning at all. So they didn't tell us that they were going to attack the hospital. So it was very dangerous, and we received when the bombings were in the hospital twice while I was there. And in the surroundings of the hospital, a lot of bombs. So we didn't have any feeling of safety at all.
I know you've previously worked in other war zones, Afghanistan, Yemen. Can you sort of compare your experience working in Gaza's hospitals to other conflict zones?
It's not possible to compare because the amount of victims that I saw in Gaza, the number, no? So every day we receive mass casualties, children, civilians, large numbers that I have never seen before, and I think that I would never, no? So when the Humanitarian Gaza Foundation opened, that is the food distribution by the Israelis and the United States, we start receiving mass casualties every day, 40, 60, 200 injured at the same time, with children with bullets in the head and in the chest, consistently executions. And every day we receive a lot of entire families bombed, erased, that they were living in the tents, in the refugees camps. That is the place where the Israelis told the population to go for not to be bombed. But still, the Israelis, they bombed these tents, killing children, women, I don't know. So every day we receive a lot of injured people and mutilated bodies, a lot of children mutilated, women also. But the most scary thing was the executions, by the Israeli soldiers in these Gaza Humanitarian Foundations. I repeat, shoots in the heads, in the chest of civilians.
It sounds impossible, nearly, to keep working in conditions like that. Did you have what you needed to do your work?
No, because in the beginning, the first 2 months, we barely could treat the patients well. But the last 2 months, when the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was open, and we still received these mass casualties every day. And also when another hospital, important hospital, was bombed by Israel and has to close. We were lacking anesthetists, drugs for the anesthesia. The antibiotics, around 60-70% of the essential drugs were lacking, no? Also compresses or gauzes for the wound care, we were missing in the end. Milk formula, this milk for the newborns, were lacking this milk. So some newborns were they died because Israel that they don't allow to bring this milk for these children. It was very, very difficult. For example, we have the only drug for painkiller that we can use after amputation or after a laparotomy or craniectomy was ibuprofen IV or diclofenac IV,
Dr. Insertis, thank you for helping us understand what conditions had been like on the ground and just how great the need is now that a ceasefire is in effect. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Well, back here at home, the Senate will be back in session today to vote for a 9th time now on a short-term funding bill to try to get the government back open until November. The same bill failed again last night in the chamber. Lawmakers from both sides are refusing to budge as the government shutdown now reaches a 15th day. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us with the latest developments as some of us are really starting to feel this in places like airports. Ryan, good morning.
Yeah, Savannah, and it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. The Trump administration has announced that they plan to move money around in the federal government to try and get military members paid and also to prevent social benefit programs from running out of money. But the problem is that is only a temporary fix, and there seems to be no breakthrough on the horizon. And that has some Democrats looking to an unlikely source for hope.
Day 15 of the federal government shutdown, and President Trump ramping up his response, warning he'll have a list of programs and jobs that could be cut forever by the end of the week.
So we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we wanted to close up or that we never wanted to happen, and we're not going to let them come back. The Democrats are getting killed, and we're going to have a list of them on Friday.
But in terms of ending the shutdown, the self-proclaimed dealmaker has stayed on the sidelines, leaving his lieutenants on Capitol Hill to handle the showdown. One Democrat saying only Trump can end the impasse.
Senator, it sounds like what you're saying is that President Trump is the key to a quick end.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's the key. I think the Speaker and the majority leader will listen to him.
While those GOP leaders on the Hill are maintaining their stance, no deal on health care until Democrats agree to a short-term extension to reopen the government. But some Republicans are begging their leadership to get in a room and negotiate.
Should health care negotiations be on the table right now?
Yes, we should be exploring any and all possible avenues to get the government back open.
And as the divide in Washington grows, the ripple effect is extending across the country. National parks and museums are closing their doors. Tens of thousands of federal workers, including law enforcement, are starting to go without pay. And flight delays are mounting as TSA officers and air traffic controllers work without pay. All this as Republicans and Democrats remain unable to find common ground.
And the Senate voted for the 8th time yesterday to open government with the exact same result. The shutdown now ranks in the top 5 all times in terms of length. Many on Capitol Hill are worried that it may break the record of 34 days. Savannah.
All right. Ryan Nobles, thank you very much. Well, the Trump administration is continuing its efforts to crack down on immigration. There was a tense clash between protesters and authorities in Chicago yesterday as the Department of Homeland Security says its agents are being targeted by Mexican cartels. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster is outside an ICE processing center in Broadview, Illinois, with the very latest. Hi, Shaq. Good morning.
Good morning. And overnight, we saw that massive fence that was blocking off the road to that ICE processing facility. It did come down. The administration complying with a federal court order that ruled it be taken down after it was installed over the objections of local officials. Now, all of this is coming after the DHS said those ICE and CBP officers are facing increasingly serious threats.
This morning, tensions running high in multiple areas around President Trump's immigration crackdown. Overnight, Los Angeles County declaring a state of emergency in response to ICE raids. Officials voting to clear the way for financial assistance for residents they say have been negatively impacted by immigration raids. While in Chicago, clashes on the streets getting heated. Homeland Security says federal officers faced a hostile crowd after an undocumented immigrant rammed a Border Patrol vehicle while trying to flee an immigration operation. After a pursuit, agents crashed into the vehicle to stop it and arrested the suspects when a crowd grew. Chicago police responded to the scene and say some people threw objects at federal agents who deployed tear gas, exposing some in the crowd, including 13 Chicago police officers.
This type of escalation is what is going to cause harm. It's not the people of Chicago, but it's the federal agents.
It's the latest flare-up during the Trump administration's so-called Operation Midway Blitz. DHS posting this video celebrating 1,500 immigration-related arrests in the Chicago area since early September.
All of these cities, we want to clean them up.
But the dramatic confrontations come as Homeland Security officials are warning Mexican drug cartels are now offering cash bounties to target ICE officers and other federal agents, including $5,000 to $10,000 for kidnapping or assaulting officers, and up to $50,000 for the assassination of high-ranking officials.
Our message to the cartels and these criminal rings, we're not backing down.
Now back to the clashes that we saw here in Chicago. One of those who was detained was a 15-year-old boy, an American citizen. His attorneys telling me overnight he was released, but said he was detained for several hours and zip-tied. Meanwhile, we know that the governor is pointing to his arrest and some of the others that we've been seeing in the area as an example of what he calls unchecked attacks on Chicago residents. Savannah?
All right, Jack, thank you very much. Well, now to the latest development in the attempted murder of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. The man who set fire to his mansion has pleaded guilty to attempted murder and other charges. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk is here with the latest details we have. Steph, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. 22 people were in the Pennsylvania governor's mansion that night, including the governor, his wife, 3 of their children, and extended family. They had just celebrated Passover. Now the man accused of setting the home ablaze has pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including arson and attempted murder.
Cody Balmer told police he was looking for Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, armed with a sledgehammer and 2 Molotov cocktails, according to prosecutors. This is the chilling security video showing Balmer approach the governor's mansion, smash a window, and start the blaze. At the second window, he breaks the glass and actually enters the house, eventually setting another fire.
It's especially hard to know that he tried to burn our family to death while we slept.
Balmer was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison Tuesday after pleading guilty to multiple charges, including attempted murder and 22 counts of arson, 1 count for each person in the house at the time, many of them asleep behind these double doors that Balmer tried to kick in.
Those doors that he tried to break through, that metal hammer that he wielded that apparently he wanted to use to kill me with.
The governor visibly rattled by the security camera videos.
They've been haunting me for months.
Hours before April's attack, his family gathered to celebrate the Jewish holiday Passover. According to prosecutors, Balmer was angry about the war in Gaza, so he targeted the governor.
I think it's important that in this time of rising political violence that none of us grow numb to it.
The governor says the attempt on his life and the danger his family faced has left them shaken.
I've carried with me this enormous sense of guilt. Guilt that doing this job that I love so much has put our children's lives at risk.
According to authorities, Balmer had been lying in wait outside the compound and then scaled a security fence to get inside. The governor said in his press conference that security is a lot tighter since the incident. Construction workers are fixing the extensive damage, but he says seeing that construction every day, his kids seeing it every day, is just this daily reminder of how terrifying that experience was.
Absolutely. Gosh, stunning new details there. Just how many children were in the house? So much family.
Yeah, 8 children between the ages of 8 and 16.
Wow. Yeah. All right, Steph, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, police in Los Angeles say 2 women posed as a cleaning service before stealing cash, jewelry, and high-end handbags from homes. Police also recovered cell phones, trail cameras, Wi-Fi jammers, all things that they say the suspects used. As NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin reports, they believe it could be part of a transnational organized crime group.
Police sounding the alarm on a new high-tech burglary scheme in Los Angeles. The LAPD arresting 2 women, both Colombian nationals, after they allegedly created fake profiles on a cleaning service app, only to sweep homes of valuables. 30-year-old Nicole Quiroga and 49-year-old Sandra Aguillon are accused of several home burglaries in the San Fernando Valley. In a search of the suspect's apartment and vehicles, detectives finding $50,000 in cash, jewelry, and high-end handbags belonging to multiple victims.
Is this a subset of a larger group, or is this sort of a copycat to what we've seen for years here in Southern California?
So what we're doing, and one of the reasons we've gone to the media, is we think there are more victims out there in the Los Angeles region.
So it sounds like you guys are still trying to connect the dots here.
We are. We're in the middle of the investigation. We are certain that there are more victims out there.
They also say they recovered cell phones, camouflage trail cameras, stolen license plates, GPS trackers, and Wi-Fi jammers used to interrupt home security systems.
Our suspects will monitor the activities of a family, the comings and goings, and then strike when it's most opportune and when they're not at their residence.
NBC News has been unable to reach Quiroga and Aguillon for comment. This latest scheme comes 2 months after LAPD busted a prolific burglary ring responsible for 92 home break-ins across the city, arresting 10 adults known as the Rich Rolling Crew that used advanced technology to target the high-end neighborhoods, police say.
These are not crimes of need. These are crimes of greed.
Last year, federal investigators indicted the alleged masterminds behind a home burglary scheme using tourist visas that netted over $5 million across 6 years. Across the country, masked thieves caught on surveillance cameras in similar home break-ins. The high-end burglary ring trend appears to be evolving, police say, as they work to stop the latest. That's putting a new spin on clean sweeps.
Burglars come in all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds. They may look like the cleaner next door. They may look like a business person. They may look like they're just out on a trail hiking. These are very sophisticated transnational organized criminal groups.
Dana Griffin, NBC News.
Temps could reach 10 to 20 degrees above average in some parts of the country today. Let's take a closer look with your Morning News Now weather.
Angie Lastman's back in studio with us. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning to you. Feeling like summer for sure across the middle of the country. We just can't settle fully into fall for some, and we're going to keep that going for another couple of days. We've got these divided highs, though. It's not all warm weather. If you look out west, that's where temperatures are much cooler. We've got below normal temperatures, actually, with a high of just 68 degrees in Las Vegas today. A different story in St. Louis. 83 for you, will be more than 15 degrees above normal across that region. And this is really spread from the southeast across the southern plains and up through the central plains and parts of the Midwest. And we see that lasting through tomorrow, too. We could, in the next couple of days, see some of these record highs be broken across parts of this region. 80s in Lincoln. We've got upper 60s in Chicago and Minneapolis tomorrow. Meanwhile, 50s is all you're going to get in Salt Lake City as you head through the day tomorrow. Across parts of the Northeast and into the weekend, we've got kind of milder conditions, but they'll be pleasant. We'll still be into the 80s on Friday in St. Louis, but we do drop down to those upper 60s. So if you're looking for the fall-like weather across parts of the Midwest, the apple picking, all those fall activities, it's going to be way better to do on Sunday, per se, in Milwaukee versus the 80 degrees that you're going to have in Columbus on Saturday. We'll get that little dip in temperatures by the time the weekend wraps up. A different timeline closer to the coast. We'll kind of be on the cooler end of things on Friday, and then we'll ramp back up to those low 70s by the time Sunday rolls around in New York City and Norfolk. Big picture look of the West Coast, because yesterday we had such a busy day across Southern California with all of that rain from this same system that's now bringing rain and snow to the Rockies. Still some scattered strong storms that we could see from New Mexico to South Dakota. We'll be watching for hail to be the main threat there as we get into the second half and later part of our day. And then by tomorrow, that steady rain works across the northern plains, guys. It's going to be anywhere from 1 to 2 inches that we'll pick up there, and we'll see some stronger storms across Colorado and Kansas as well.
Today, I came in a coat with a little fur on it. Now it's going to be hot again.
You needed it for the morning. You didn't need it for the afternoon. I hate to tell you.
Morning coat, day coat,
yes,
night
exactly.
coat.
I really should call you before I leave the house. Thank you, Angie. Of course. Well, if you don't have teenagers in your house, you might not have heard of the popular 6-7 trend, but plenty of parents and teachers say they've had enough. The term 6-7, importantly, it is not 67, went viral last year. And the funny thing is, it doesn't really mean anything, but unlike most internet trends, this one seems to be sticking around, prompting some teachers to set some new rules in the classroom.
6-7, a meme kids can't get enough of and teachers can't get away from.
We are not saying the word 6-7 anymore. If you do, you have to write a 67-word essay.
Some schools even banning the phrase in classrooms.
You are no longer allowed to say, what number do you think I'm going to say?
6-7. Caitlin Soriano is a 7th grade math teacher.
How much are you hearing and seeing 6-7 in your classroom?
All day, every day. It is nonstop throughout my class, the hallways, the cafeterias.
She says she banned the term last year after it became distracting for students. But now she and other teachers are leaning in.
And we hope that if it is embarrassing enough for the adults to be doing it, that maybe they stop.
The trend took off a few months ago, but has re-intensified with school back in session. Thought to originate from a rap song by Skrilla. But the experts we spoke to say the numbers really don't mean anything.
It's like slang to make parents be like, what does that mean?
Yeah, baby.
It's just the latest example of slang through the years.
Eat my shorts.
From the hippie generation, where things were groovy and far out, to the 90s, where everyone was asking, what's up?
If you're wondering what this skibbity is going on and how all this brain rot is getting to us, you're not Delulu. It's all pretty Ohio. But the kids, they just want us to let them cook.
As for parents, they're feeling the pain too. According to a recent study, 35% say they struggle to understand their kids' slang vocabulary. And 56% say their kids feel cringe when they try and use slang to communicate.
Do you think that your mom and your dad or your teachers are getting a little annoyed of it?
Yes. Yes.
Is that going to stop you?
No.
So 6-7, just the latest example of internet talk being used in our everyday language. It's become so prevalent earlier this year. The Cambridge Dictionary even made some of those words official. They added some of that viral slang I mentioned, like skibbity. Gibberish term, like I mentioned, can mean cool or bad, or delulu, that shortened version of delusional. That's something Joe says all the time.
I still don't know how to pronounce it. So
I learned 6-7 from Joe.
Yeah, right. Also would have literally been going 67. The kids are saying 67.
41, and this is the hand motion, so.
That's not 4-1?
It's not. I know. Right. It's tough.
Coming up, we are smack dab in the middle of October, so that means we are thinking pink all month long.
It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, of course, and after the break, we're going to take a look at the simple, healthy lifestyle choices that some medical experts say can help prevent the disease and improve survivorship in women who have already been diagnosed. The doctor's in next.
Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with broadcast networks standing up to a new press policy at the Pentagon.
Joining us now with more, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona. Mel, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. We begin at the Pentagon, where a new press policy is getting some very strong pushback. 5 major broadcast news networks, including NBC News, announced in a joint statement that they will not sign the Pentagon's new set of rules for reporters. That policy says reporters could have their press passes revoked if they publish information that has not been authorized for release by the department, even if that information is unclassified. Multiple media organizations have rejected those restrictions, saying they will threaten their ability to keep the world informed on important national security issues. The Pentagon said any media professional who declined to sign the policy by yesterday's deadline has 24 hours to turn in their press badge and, quote, clear their spaces in the building. Next, a legal battle is heating up over the GOP's refusal to swear in a new House Democrat. Congresswoman-elect Alita Grijalva, who won a special election in Arizona on September 23rd, has yet to be sworn in by Speaker Mike Johnson. In a new letter to Johnson, the Arizona Attorney General accused Republicans of violating the Constitution and threatened legal action if they continue to delay the swearing-in ceremony. Johnson has said he will swear in Grijalva whenever the government reopens, even though members can be sworn in during shutdowns and pro forma sessions. And finally, the Supreme Court denied Alex Jones's attempt to block a massive defamation suit against him. Jones, a right-wing conspiracy theorist, was sued over his false claims about the deadly Sandy Hook school shooting. and was ordered to pay the victims' families $1.5 billion. Jones had asked the Supreme Court to step in, warning his website, InfoWars, is on the verge of being turned over to the satirical news site The Onion in order to help pay the judgment. But the Supreme Court rejected his appeal without comment. And that's what's making news in politics this morning. Joe and Savannah.
All right, thanks, Mel. Appreciate it.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, that is the most common type of cancer among women in the U.S., except for skin cancer, according to the American Cancer Society.
It accounts for roughly 30% of new female cancers every year. Some experts say that more than half of breast cancers can be prevented with healthy lifestyle changes. It can also help increase survivorship in women who have already been diagnosed.
For more on this, let's bring in Dr. Lorraine Frazier. She is the Dean of the School of Nursing at Columbia University, as well as a breast cancer survivor herself. Dean Frazier, good morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Wonderful to meet you. And I do want to start, if you don't mind, on your personal journey, because I imagine it's quite something to go from caring for patients to being a patient. And you underwent a lot of treatment. Tell us about your journey with breast cancer.
Well, I was surprised, of course, but well taken care of. You know, I had professionals helping me through. I had the best physicians and the nurse practitioners in oncology that were there to answer my questions and to help me along this journey. So I felt that I was in good hands, and that made a big difference.
Tell us about some of these lifestyle changes that you can make either to prevent breast cancer or, if you are diagnosed, to help you on that journey toward recovery.
Well, you know, that's the exciting part about my journey is before I was overweight, but I'm 5'10". I mean, I wasn't, you wouldn't say I was heavy or obese.
Right.
But taking that weight off is important. Weight is not your friend with breast cancer. But it just doesn't mean weight. It means developing muscles. A lot of times you lose weight when you're going through chemotherapy, but you have to build back those muscles that really keep your body healthy, keep that insulin sensitivity up, keep that glucose down. And so, you know, just exercising. The other thing is eating well, you know, knowing what to eat protein, eat good vegetables. I totally changed how I was eating.
Wow.
So exercise and eating really gave me a new body, which I love. I love my new clothes and getting dressed up. And also dealing with stress. You know, I don't let drama get into my life like I used to. I have a different sense of what's important. And I put myself first. And I think for women, it's hard to do that sometimes. So I think that made a big difference.
Some of that is a little easier said than done, right? I think for a lot of women, probably just hearing like losing weight, like, oh, well, I've been trying that, or something like that. And same with drama, you know, you think you can strip it out, but maybe sometimes you can't really anticipate how you'll react to something. Yes. What's your advice to women on how to really make a shift? Maybe especially if they haven't had a diagnosis.
That's a great thing to talk about. You don't have to do excellent. Sometimes the best you can do is enough, right? Exercise can be getting the kids out, cleaning the house.
That's a great
Whatever
idea.
you do, remember, it is exercise. 5 or 10 minutes after you eat, walk around the block, get a pair of 5-pound weights. That's all I do, and work out on your weights. If you can do things like that, you can get in shape. It doesn't require a gym.
You say that you used to feel like you were sort of leading your life on a conveyor belt, just kind of letting things kind of go by you. And this has changed all of that for you. That's why you wanted to share your story so publicly, right?
Yes. You know, Alice in Wonderland says, don't ask me who I was yesterday. I was a different person. I was a completely different person.
Wow.
I noticed things that I wouldn't have noticed before. The beautiful sunrise. If you saw it this morning in New York, it was fabulous. And the other thing, though, that we haven't mentioned and I need to talk about is taking your medicine.
Oh.
There is a medication, an estrogen blocker. If you need to take that, take it. It prevents recurrence from 30 to 60%. Sometimes it's difficult if you have side effects, but work with your practitioner and make sure that you take that because it's really, really important. I take mine. I will be on that for 10 years, and I find it's very worthwhile.
Dean Lorraine Frazier, what a great message. Comforting, I'm sure, to anyone with a recent diagnosis to know that you have some control. There's some
You
things
do,
that
and
you
it could be the beginning of your best life.
There you
It
go.
has been for me.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful to see you and meet you.
Yeah.
All right, coming up from time to time here in Morning News Now, we want to shine a spotlight on some women who truly mean business.
When we come back, I'm sitting down with the cosmetic queen herself, Maureen Kelly, founder and CEO of the mega popular Tarte Cosmetics, on her trailblazing clean beauty push and becoming a viral name that's been seen all over TikTok. That's next. Stick around. We are back with our series Women Mean Business, and today we are chatting with a woman who pioneered some of the first clean beauty products in the U.S. Her name is Maureen Kelly, and she's the CEO and founder of Tarte Cosmetics. You've definitely heard of it. She built this powerhouse brand from one product in her New York City apartment to a global viral sensation millions of fans have come to know and love. We're going to speak with her live in just a moment, but first, here's some of her story.
Tarte Cosmetics is a bellwether of beauty. It's currently the #1 cosmetic brand on TikTok Shop, raking in more than $100 million so far this year. And the brand is no stranger to cult classics, like its Shape Tape Concealer and mega popular tubing mascara. The brains behind this beauty empire is CEO and founder Maureen Kelly. Born and raised just north of New York City, Kelly was studying for a PhD in clinical psychology before deciding to pursue her lifelong love of beauty. Inspired by a childhood memory where she mixed watercolor paints with shaving cream to copy her mom's blush, Kelly officially launched Tarte a year later from her New York City apartment. By 2000, she had landed her first big break, getting her products into department store Henry Bendel. But the following year, tragedy struck. Kelly's husband was killed in the 9/11 attacks, leaving her so heartbroken she considered shutting down the business. But she said the brand became her guiding light, her structure in the chaos. And in the following 2 decades, she built Tarte into a household name, sold in Sephora, Ulta Beauty, on QVC, and its very own Amazon storefront. She says Tarte is about more than makeup. It's about community and helping people feel their very best every single day. Maureen Kelly is a woman who means business.
And the woman herself, Maureen Kelly, joins us now live in studio. Maureen, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It is so exciting to get to chat with you. I'm such a fan of your brand, a fan of you, and just the way that you've done, which we're going to kind of tell our viewers about a little bit more right now. Starting with the way that you got into your first department store, you got a little creative. Tell us about this.
I had to, yeah. So when I started Tarte, I had no business experience. Clean beauty wasn't a thing, so I created it, put it on my credit cards, maxed them out, and then no one would call me back. So I was about to be out of business before I was in business. I was calling Henry Bendel's, Barney's, which, you know, the bees, they're gone now, sadly.
I know.
Yeah, and then Bergdorf Goodman, and no one called me back because I was a nobody, of course. I wasn't famous, I wasn't rich, and God knows I was not a model. And that's kind of how you get those phone calls back. And so I did tell a little bit of a fib, and I left a message for Bergdorf Goodman and Bendel saying that I was launching in the other one store. Immediate call back. Immediate.
Wow.
And that's how I got in.
Do they know that now? Did they ever find that story out?
Yeah, they did. And they were so happy, though. They were so happy. And they called me up. I went in. I just knew if I could get in front of them and show them my products that they would see how different they were.
Absolutely. I think what's really cool about your story, too, is that, like, you were on this path that was not beauty.
No.
And so many women, I think, do something So many women do something that they think they're supposed to do, or get a degree, or keep getting degrees in things that, you know, seem like sort of like a straight and narrow path for them, but really have this other passion, but have no clue what to do about it. I mean, how did you find the confidence to totally switch up your life?
Here. Okay, I thought you were going to ask, how did I like find the labs? And confidence came one day at a time because my parents did not want me to drop out of my PhD program at Columbia, but I just followed my heart. I did it. I opened up the yellow pages. Like, honestly, like Google didn't exist back then. Social media didn't exist. And then I just started calling labs, drove over the George Washington Bridge and sat in the waiting room until chemists would see me. And then they kind of laughed me out the door because, again, I was a nobody. And then I finally got one that I thought believed in me. He said, I'll take your case. And I was like, oh my gosh, you believe in me. You know, clean beauty, cruelty-free, not testing on animals. He was like, no, I don't believe in you. We take a charity case every year and you're going to be it. I was like, sold. I'll take it.
Wow. But see, what an experience. I think that can be so inspiring for women to just like take a leap, to figure out the best way to do it.
Take a leap, yes, that is it.
You've also, ever since starting this, continued to do that in ways. And one of the things that people, probably some people watching know you from, is the social media presence. I mean, you guys are absolutely massive, #1 on TikTok Shop when it comes to cosmetics.
Yes.
But you've also done something that seems not so revolutionary now, but it's because you started it literally years ago. This kind of concept of influencer marketing being a way to power your business. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we created these Trippin' with Tarts because I didn't have a marketing budget. So I rented this house in Turks and Caicos and it wasn't even on the main beach. I remember scrubbing the bottom of the glass bottom kayaks, hanging pool lights myself. My family all helped. I had my kids stay at a nearby place because of course they weren't going to be there.
Right.
Sent the invites out to these influencers to come, stay for 3 days. It was like a high school party where you're crossing your fingers. Oh my gosh, please God, let somebody show up. They all RSVP'd, yes. They come, they came, they spent 3 days hearing, learning about the product, of course, having daiquiris and pina coladas, had a great time. The aha moment was when they got home and I got back and I saw the sales skyrocket. So
wow.
Real relationships with real people is what I've built the brands on ever since. And now these influencer trips are what it's all about, and I started them.
You really did.
I'm proud of myself.
A long time ago. Quickly, tell us about what you're working on now that's new.
Okay, I'm working on a brand new brand called FinSoul Wellness. I have 2 boys.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
Having the makeup
Cosmetics queen has 2 boys.
Not having a girl. So Finn and Sully. So they shared the name.
The
FinSoul,
best names.
A wellness brand. So I created beauty from the outside, and now they're going to be doing it from the inside out. And I have to say,
teaching your kids.
Yes, it's
How
been
to do
amazing.
this.
It's been amazing doing it with them. A lot of late nights and a lot of, trying to tell them I know what I'm doing. Listen to me. But it really has been an incredible journey. All the tools that are available now that weren't available 25, 20 years ago, and just being really proud of them.
Oh my goodness. We have 15 seconds. What advice, though, do you give for women who want to mean business?
Okay, yeah, believe in yourself. Trust your gut.
That's really good.
Yeah, don't be afraid to have confidence. Confidence isn't a bad thing.
Maureen Kelly, thank you so much. Such a joy to meet you.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
joining us. Great to see you.
All right, we got some more business news now. Soon your TV screensaver could star you thanks to AI-powered ads from DirecTV. CNBC's Frank Holland has that and some other money news. Frank, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you once again. All right, this is a very cool story. DirecTV is replacing the screensaver on your TV with AI-generated ads. The company's working with Glance. That's a startup backed by Google. Glance says viewers will be able to do things like insert themselves or their friends into videos on their TVs. The new AI-powered screensavers will begin rolling out to DirecTV Gemini devices early next year. Samsung may reveal more details about its new mixed reality headset at an event next Tuesday. The headset, which is dubbed Project Muhan, will run on a new software platform developed by Samsung, Google, and Qualcomm. The event comes as Apple is reportedly close to launching a new version of the Vision Pro headset that's powered by a faster chip. NVIDIA's new personal AI supercomputer goes on sale today. The DGX Spark is powerful enough to let users work on complex AI models, but also small enough to fit right there on your desk. You can order your own Spark on NVIDIA's website and from select partners and stores for just under $4,000. Back over to you.
All right, a lot of AI news this morning, Frank. Finally this hour, you'll probably remember that viral reunion between a dog called Oreo and his owner after the devastating Palisades fire in California earlier this year. Well, now this emotional moment has inspired a new law to help save pets during disasters. NBC's Liz Kreutz explains.
Oh, honey! Oh, my God, you're alive! You're alive!
It's a moment that resonated with so many of you. Casey Colvin overwhelmed with emotion as he finds his Pomeranian Oreo, who had been lost in the rubble for days in the Palisades fire. NBC News' video of that reunion went viral, millions sympathizing with his emotional reaction. And now, 9 months later, that video has led to legislative change. California Governor Newsom just signing a law inspired by Oreo that will require cities and counties make a plan for how to retrieve pets that become trapped in evacuated areas. It's the first law of its kind in the country.
What's your reaction when you saw the governor sign this law?
We were so surprised. Oh, it's just the best feeling in the world. It feels like we won the lottery, literally.
When we first met Casey the night of the fire, he was in tears trying to get to Oreo.
How do I get to my house?
For days, he couldn't get past the roadblocks. His story highlighting just how hard it can be for pet owners to rescue their pets during a natural disaster.
Pets are family. So for me personally, me being able to walk out of the fires with my dogs is the miracle. And having a law now that can help other people, like Oreo's in the history books. That's totally wild. It makes me so happy.
One bright spot from the fires, creating change.
Can we see a little Oreo?
Yeah.
Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
The Oreo law. Love it. All right, that is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. But don't go anywhere. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.